Hello, I'm your host Jim McLean. Welcome back to Banterflix, where each week we talk about some of the movies and shows you might want to seek out, or some you might want to avoid. Let's see what we'll be talking about tonight. We'll be reviewing Supergirl as it flies onto the big screen, and Aaron Flanagan from the Comic Book Guys will be telling us everything we need to know about the character's origins. I'll be speaking with director Joe Fria about his queer-tinged horror movie, Shadows of Willow Cabin, available to rent or buy now. And we'll wrap up as we talk about Michael as it finally arrives on VOD platforms. So that's what we've lined up for you this week. Joining me in the studio, the lovely Claire McCullough.
Hi, Jim.
And Al Meban.
Good to be back.
Hello to both. We have packed show. As I said, we're going to be talking about Supergirl. We're going to be DC here this week as we record. You might have thought coming into the studio that it was a Lex Luthor convention, but no. Pitbull is in town. By the time this goes out, of course, he will be maybe in a town or city near you. Mr. Worldwide, bringing all things wonderful. But yes, we are going to be talking about Supergirl. And I don't know about yourselves. I don't know, because we've had the original in the 80s. There was a TV show in the early 90s that went on for quite some time. I don't know if either of you are that well versed on the origins of the character. So I thought the perfect person to ask was the lovely Aaron Flanagan from the Comic Book Guys. So Aaron is going to tell us everything we need to know about the character. We'll play a clip of the trailer, and then we'll get back to talking about the movie. So for now, it's over to Aaron.
Every corner of the universe, the galaxy,
Must be defended.
you cannot give up on me.
Now it's a party.
Oh, that might be a problem.
Supergirl obviously appeared in comic books way back in 1959, actually, during the Silver Age of comics, and it was in Action Comics issue 252. So it was two of the best names ever here, by the way, in terms of comic creation. Otto Binder and Al Plastino were the creators of Supergirl, and they wanted to create a character who was similar to Superman, had the same powers as Superman, had the same ideals as Superman, but obviously they created a female version. But they wanted to create a character that was as good as, if not better, than Superman, and somebody who wouldn't stand in Superman's shadow. So they came up with Kara, and what a character they created. So in terms of the background story and the origin story, a bit like Superman, who was sent down the earth in a pod by his parents before Krypton exploded, Kara actually, her parents were lucky to escape as Krypton exploded, and they went and lived on another city for a period of time, and it was called Argo City. And it was during this time that they had put up a shield, essentially, that would stop the Krypton from exploding the place. And so a lot of this stuff happened. That's why she didn't come down at the same time. Now, at the point that they realized, oh, this stuff is not going well, the planet's going to explode, we need to get Kara somewhere, she did what all good superhuman parents seem to do, and shipped their child off in a rocket to another land that they didn't really know much about. But they seen that Superman had went down to Earth, so they sent Kara down to Earth. And it was once Kara came down to Earth, she met up with Superman. And it was during this time that they realized they wanted to keep her almost a secret. They wanted her to almost live a normal life, or as normal life as she could live. So she went into an orphanage under the pseudonym Linda Lee. And it was during this period that she really finessed her power. She figured out what she could do. She figured out really how powerful that she had become. So obviously she built up herself during this period, and it was at that point that she realized that she wanted to not stand in Superman's shadow anymore. So it was really at that stage in the creation of Supergirl did DC then make a point of going, do you know what, let's make this character something much bigger. So they put her into the Legion of Superheroes. They made her a much more iconic character in her own right. And it was really the sort of 1980s that shaped that for Kara and for Supergirl. Now, unfortunately, as she really had hit her peak in comics at that time, possibly one of the greatest stories ever told came along, called Crisis on Infinite Earths. And it was during this storyline that is probably one of the most definitive parts to Supergirl's real history. She actually gave herself up to save the whole DC universe during this, and there was an iconic cover you will have seen where Superman's holding her, and it became synonymous with probably one of the, as I say, the most iconic comic books ever. And it was thanks to Supergirl that she saved the universe. So unfortunately, it was her demise. And the DC, to be honest, for a long period of time, kept her out of the continuity. Throughout the years that followed, there was a few different incarnations and versions of Supergirl, Matrix, and a few others. But it was really in 2004 onwards where they started to really pump it again with Supergirl and brought Kara back. And you got some of the best stories ever after that. You know, you had Supergirl 2006. You then had the Rebirth stories that were phenomenal. But for me, I think the story that everybody really got hooked on with Supergirl was fairly modern. And let me get it, I'll show you here. So it was this one here, Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow. Now this is the one that the DC film really has focused on. This is Tom King's run, and this really focused on Supergirl more as a bit of an aggressive hero and somebody who had a really traumatic upbringing. And it was this book that DC and James Gunn decided was the one to focus on. So if you're looking to get into Supergirl, that's the sort of direction you should maybe start as a starting point, because it gives you a good bit of the origin story, gives you a flavour into what the films are going to do with her now. And as I say, it gives you a good insight into the character as a whole. So it's one of those things that Supergirl over the years has been a character that, to be honest, has been underutilized. And I think for me as a comic book fan, and obviously as a comic book store owner, I was delighted to see this Supergirl run come out, because I knew that it was special. I knew that it was going to bring her back to the fore. And obviously from then, she's went on from strength to strength. So it's great to see the film. It's great to see how much they've put behind the film. Great casting as well in it. And as I say, this little bit of an origin story on Supergirl has hopefully give you a little bit of background into what you can expect when you watch the film. Thank you.
I know it's pretty colorful, but that's just so everyone knows we're good.
I'm going to tell you something. Only one of you is going to make it out alive.
Claire, I'm going to start with you. Were you a fan of this? Did you enjoy this? I don't know. I think as I said before, Aaron had his little bit of comic book 101s. Have any previous inclinations to the various guises of Supergirl on both big screen and small screen before this?
No, I'm very new to Supergirl. But I really enjoyed Superman last year. I thought it was really vulnerable. It was raw. It was just a lovely film. So I really enjoyed that last year. And having seen the trailer for Supergirl, I wasn't super excited for it.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But I wasn't against watching it. So I went to see it last night and I thought it was good. I gave it like 3 stars.
Okay, I was waiting for a but there.
But I do have, there's things I want to discuss.
Okay, well, hold those on for now. So you're kind of a 3-star, and as Empire Magazine say, 3 stars is still a recommendation. You know, we would call it the cinematic meh. I don't think it's going to be going on the movie poster anytime soon. Claire McCullough, I think it was fine. I thought it was okay. I know the film hasn't found an audience, a huge audience at the box office. I think you said to me you were the only person at the screening. There was a handful in with myself. I seen it just before we started to record. I'm going to reserve judgment for just a minute. Alan, where are you going to weigh in? So Claire's kind of 3 stars. It's fine.
Oh, I think I'm kind of 4 stars. I mean, this could be the best kind of superhero cartoon comic book movie this year, but it might be the only one that I bother to see because I'm not a huge fan of these things. No, I accidentally saw it on the opening night.
Accidentally, Alan.
Accidentally. Something else I was doing was unexpectedly cancelled, but somebody had walked past at the back of the Odyssey just by W5 wearing full Supergirl outfit. And I thought, oh, that must be this weekend. I bet you it's a long weekend for the first weekend. So they're kind of starting on the Thursday to get their numbers up. And I had enough time and went down to my local Omniplex and saw it. I thought it was kind of it had a lot of good things about it that are bad in other films of this nature. I mean, Wonder Woman, which is kind of probably a whole different world, universe, and
No,
supplier.
we're still in DC.
Or is it DC as well? That's how out of touch I am. But it's very clean cut. It's very earnest. It's very kind of bronzed. This was very raw. You know, its lead character did not ask to have superpowers. Its lead character can use those superpowers. I don't think it's a spoiler to say without having to wear the outfit. But there's a lot of fun things about it, and I think it's a kind of. I feel I'm about to say that it's real, and it's a superhero movie, so it can't be real. But it feels kind of more raw, more real, more edgy than a lot of things. And there's a wee bit of character in there, and it's not all about kind of white man saving the world.
Yeah, I would agree with most of the things you're saying. I like this, like Claire, I like this, didn't love this. I think it finishes strongly. I think it's, by the start, it's trying to get all its pieces into place. I think there's a villain here, as someone who's a bit of a dog lover. I mean, you know, probably that's the most notable thing about him. I think it's Mateus Schoenaerts. I may be getting that wrong. I apologize. I thought he was a bit of a very much like copy-paste villain. Not a lot there.
He's
really
not the worst character in the thing.
No, but there's a good actor being wasted with a very meh script. Craig Gillespie, who I like as a director, you know, did I, Tonya. Love that film. I think he's trying to do that James Gunn style. There's a couple of needle drops with the soundtrack, and it's just like, okay, that's James Gunn's thing. Do your own thing. We've had this, and I've had this rant before, particularly with I think films like The Conjuring, where other directors have come in and tried to do somebody else's style. Millie Alcock, who is our Supergirl, I really like. I think I like the fact that there's motivation for her in a kind of John Wick-esque of her motivation for going off on this little journey of self-discovery. By the time it reaches its finale, there's a bit of Furiosa, Mad Max in there. And I think there's maybe structures in there, or if you kind of pull at the threads a little bit, there's a talk about kind of, particularly here in Northern Ireland, without going too much into it, that theme of female rage. But for you, as someone, you mentioned Superman earlier on, and we do see David Cornsweet here with all his lovely dimples. And what I've found is how quickly I've grown to really like him as that Superman role. And look, as much as I love Henry Cavill, much as I did, I think I'm finally accepted. I'm over David, if you're watching. He has the cape. He is my Superman now. But comparing, I mean, I love the fact that she's a very different character from Superman. And we see that in that chalk and cheese. There's certain moments where they have interactions. They have great chemistry together. As I say, I'm repeating myself. I know. I just wish that the script, the screenplay had been better, more confident. But it's a nice tonal change from what we got with Superman. But I had more fun in my cinema seat watching Superman as opposed to Supergirl.
Yeah. I think she's a fantastic character. She's really fun. She's edgy. She's not perfect. I kind of see her as the Kesha of the DC universe. I think that's how I described the film. My issue isn't with her. Any of the flaws that I saw in the film had nothing to do with Supergirl or her acting. I thought she was fantastic. I also thought the other little girl was fantastic. Two like incredibly cast female lead roles in the film. My issue was, well, there was one scene in one of the quite dramatic fight scenes. They did a really toned down version of Jimmy Eat World, The Middle, which just didn't work for me. Why wouldn't you just use the original? It kind of, it went against that scene. Could have just played the original.
Are you just, is this because you're just a huge Jimmy Eat World fan?
Not even, but yeah, so that kind of lost me, that scene there. I was like, what is going on with the music in this film? Also, Jason Momoa, was he not Aquaman like 5 minutes ago?
He didn't need to be in it. His character is rubbish.
Hello, I thought
should have been cut
stole the show. I thought
No, he just distracted from the whole thing.
Yeah, wasn't a fan.
Motorbike with chains, it's not even realistic.
We will move on, and earlier in the season, we reviewed the film Shadows of Willow Cabin, queer-tinged horror feature. It had been planned to be released, then it was put back because the film had its UK premiere at the Raindance Film Festival in London. And we've already discussed the film, so you can look back to see that. Again, mixed feelings in that with myself and the guest that was in the studio. But I had an opportunity to speak to the director, Joe Fria, about the film. And here's that interview.
Shadows of Willow Cabin is a romantic horror film about two men who decide to explore a sexually charged relationship they're having on a gay dating app in a remote cabin in the woods. And while as they grow closer to each other, their sort of past traumas trap them there, and they have to figure out together how to escape. The genesis of the idea was, I needed to make something contained and small for my first feature. That was really it was really clear to me that the other ideas that I had been sort of playing around with were going to be too high in budget for any financer in their right mind to give me money to do. So I needed to prove myself as a director and writer. And I kind of delved into some life experiences of my own that I hadn't really fully coped with yet. And I sort of used them in a way that I thought would be kind of anonymous. I thought that, this will deepen the story, but I will never have to actually talk about it. But my lovely partner, who is an associate producer on the film as well, she very quickly told me, it's going to be obvious that this is a personally connected thing, and you should probably think about the fact that you're going to have to talk publicly about it.
Some random guy asked you to come to his cabin in the woods. I should probably tell you something. I never once thought, I don't know this person. Maybe I shouldn't.
This isn't funny. Stop.
The first time that I sort of came out as bisexual was in the director's notes I was writing for festivals. It's the first time I actually said it out loud, and I was like, oh wow, that just came out of me. So the film was sort of almost like a little bit of a coming out story in a way, and my journey sort of echoed a lot in the journey that Albert goes through in the film. And so that's really the seed of where the idea came from.
The electricity's still out. The water isn't working.
The thing that I really came to realize was that the thing that I have and the ability to speak to actors in a way that puts what I have in my mind into their minds and can come out of them organically in a beautiful performance, it maintained itself from dubbing to on camera. So that was like that sort of opened this door of like I could do anything. I know if I surround myself with the right people, that my particular set of skills are going to be very fruitful in my filmmaking future.
You should be ashamed.
So that's my interview with Joe Fria, and as I say, that film is available now on VOD platforms. We're going to move on now to our pick of the streams with another film you can watch from the comfort of home.
Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir.
I need to hear you a little louder. Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir.
Ready whenever you are, Michael.
Do you know what I'm after? You want to be the biggest star in the world?
We need to capitalize on Michael's success. Because the Jackson family is the brand. That's our Coca-Cola. And we need to start selling. So I'm planning an international tour. This is just the beginning.
So that's a look at the Michael Jackson biopic. Alan, as you made the point as we were watching the trailer there, this is now available, like at this moment in time, I believe it's PVOD, so you can pay, I think, was it nearly £20 for the privilege to watch it at home, but it's still in cinemas. I'll start with you, Alan. So I'm guessing you've seen this in the cinema, you didn't watch this at home.
I'm certainly not going to pay £20 to see it.
So I don't know if that has kind of set the mood for the film, but what do you think of this? No.
I got to say, at the screening I was at, there were a lot of Michael Jackson fans there.
Were you in a Michael Jackson t-shirt in that one?
Definitely not. Don't own one. There was somebody at the end of the row, and as we were leaving, she was gasping about the fact this was the third time and I was there in about the first week or two. It was the third time she'd been to see the film. And I said, oh my goodness, why? She went, because he's brilliant. And I said, is he not slightly problematic? Using a word that is way too kind. And she went, no, that's a load of nonsense. He's a brilliant man. And she was going to be coming back. And I think that's why it's a sustained. It's still on once a day in Lisburn. And they're still getting audiences to come and see it.
That one person keeps coming back.
That one person clearly comes back. This is a mess of a film. If we cut to the end where it kind of comes up ... to be continued, the story seems to be that originally they were going to cover much more of his life. Then how to cover the second half of his life, what they had planned didn't meet with family approval and estate approval, and so they cut it down to be much more on, if you like, the first half. The second half would need to be a documentary as opposed to...
Well, we've already had a documentary.
Well, and we don't really need very much more. A quick look at Wikipedia, even with crowd editing, kind of will tell you most of the problems. It's a real mess. I think it deals well with the fact that there was an abusive father who was really heavy on the Jackson 5, on the boys, as their kind of career was taking off. So it's so kind of blind to the problems that it doesn't even not address them. It just kind of like sails past.
Oh no,
I hope
very
that
much
nobody would ever see them.
Yeah, very much so. Let's move past that. And there's quite a few sequences that I have to admit did sit, and I guess we should say at this point, certain things within Michael Jackson's personal life allegations that have never, there has been discussed, as we mentioned, there's been documentaries, but the fact that he is painted at times, and you've alluded to this, Alan, is kind of holier than holy. This artist who's at hospital visiting children, can almost heal them, is there, will do whatever he can, to almost like a kind of, I don't want to say like Jesus-esque figure, but there's that hint at that. But also what I find, that I've seen this twice. Now I've watched this at home because I had issues about going to see it at the cinema. I took the PVOD route just to be able to watch it at home. And both times I've watched, I find it weird that, and I don't know whether it's me looking for something that's not there, but they also see him as this kind of almost asexual figure. There's no hint in this film at all of any romance. It is purely focused down music. And it gets to that problem that it's so prevalent within the industry now of both film, music, TV. Can you separate art from the artist? But Claire, where are you going to weigh in here on Michael?
I hated it, okay? I hated it.
Sure.
We
haven't peer pressured you.
I think if you look at it objectively, it's great if you want to see Thriller being remade on your screen. The music is obviously very good because it's Michael Jackson's music, but I feel like kind of what you said earlier, Alan, it is so childish, and I know that they say you stay the mental age of when you become famous, and you can see that throughout. And obviously the animals in the cage, I feel like they were metaphorical for him and how he was caged and people were cruel to him, so he kind of is doing that to the that
Except
sort
I'm
of
not
thing.
sure that they actually made it that clever.
But yeah, well,
But I'm glad you found something in it that was deeper
maybe,
than.
maybe I'm seeing something.
Maybe it's that sense like with me, with Supergirl, like we mentioned, where you find yourself, you're looking, maybe because you're not invested and you are aware of things.
It's the same problem I had, what I have with most biopics whenever the celebrity is dead. It's painted in a way that it's almost like the Bohemian Rhapsody. So Brian and the rest of Queen are still alive. So that was painted. It didn't show the darkness behind Freddie Mercury. It wasn't an accurate portrayal because they are still alive and still overseeing and making sure that it's shown in a particular way. That's how I felt about Michael Jackson's film. Because his estate and his family and the record company, they're all very much alive. There's NDAs have been signed.
Janet Jackson is not even a daughter, a sister in it. There is nobody who could be her because she doesn't want to be part of it, obviously.
Yeah,
but she's the only one. Everybody else seems to be.
Yeah, so it's the fact that it's not very truthful.
Yeah.
It's surface level. It won't get into the nitty gritty. Obviously, Michael's life, the massive tragedy throughout it, and the darkness of his father as well. That needed to be honed in on. The media, just everything. They just didn't portray it properly.
I would agree with you. I watched this. I thought it was. I didn't hate it. I just thought it was perfectly, in terms of biopic, perfectly fine, serviceable. But it's fluff. It's surface level. There's no depth there. Whether we like the films, whether they're truthful or not, I guess that is a discussion for another day. You know, how truthful does a biopic need to be? Or just do we want to sit back and, for fans, enjoy the jubilation as we see the artist being celebrated? But look, mixed feelings, I think, for Michael. But as I say, it is now available, PVOD. As you mentioned, it's still in cinemas and probably will still be in cinemas for quite some time. And will probably be, at the end of the year, one of the big, highest grossing films that, I guess, look at it this way, has kept cinemas... When cinemas need bums on seats, whether we like the film or not, a film like Michael is doing that. But look, that is us out of time. So all that's left for me to do now is thank my guests here in the studio. So thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Thank you.
Thanks as well to Aaron and the lovely Joe Fria. And of course, thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with the first in a series of summer specials. So we dive into some of the favourite blockbusters by some of our favourite directors. But for now, until then, goodbye.